Hello and welcome to Lost in Sci-Fi and Fantasy, The Challenge. Beginning this Monday, April 3rd, I intend to read 23 or potentially 26 books over the next 26 weeks. What are these books? Well, they are going to be all of the Percy Jackson books, or at least Percy Jackson related books. They are the original Percy Jackson and the Olympians, 5 books, then Heroes of Olympus, the Magnus Chase trilogy, and the Trials of Apollo. Those are the main books that I intend to read. Then I have 3 spacer books that I will read in between each kind of set. These books are Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, Sphere by Michael Crichton, and Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn. These spacer books are set there for a couple of reasons. One, the last time I attempted to do something similar to this challenge, I kind of petered out after the first 5 books because sticking to those books very closely over a short period of time is very taxing. So I decided to add in these spacers to kind of give myself a little mental break to just kind of breathe. Over the course of the challenge, 2 of the books that I intend to read will actually release. They aren't out yet. There is The Sun and the Stars, which is a Nico D'Angelo book that has yet to come out. And the entire reason for me wanting to do this challenge around this time period is the 6th Percy Jackson and the Olympians book coming out, The Chalice of the Gods, which is set, according to a recent interview, between Heroes of Olympus and the Trials of Apollo, which I think is very interesting. And I'll probably get more into my thoughts on what I'm hoping for from the new book and whatnot as I go along and provide updates. Speaking of updates, how are they going to work? So, I intend to provide an update every week on Monday on the podcast. You can, of course, follow it on YouTube, where I've been posting every episode. I will have recently caught up YouTube with where we are currently in the podcast, or just subscribe to the RSS feed and listen to it on whatever podcast catcher of your choice. I intend to do an update every Monday from April 3rd to October 2nd, in which I will have potentially read, or hopefully have read, the final Percy Jackson book, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, technically number 6, Chalice of the Gods, that weekend in a very short amount of time. But hopefully I'll have, completed the rest of the challenge by then. I also intend to do updates via shorts on YouTube, kind of in real time. So as I finish a book, I will post a short on my YouTube channel, kind of updating you on what I thought of the book and whatnot in a very short format, because obviously I only have about 60 seconds there. But it's to kind of give you my quick fire thoughts on the book and how the challenge is going. While for the kind of longer, more in-depth updates, I will be, recording and putting at the end of each episode of the podcast going forward an update on just how things are going. So if, say, for example, I am in the middle of a book, so because I do expect some books to take multiple weeks, which, is the biggest thing I'm worried about. I expect to kind of give you an update of how it's going at that time, where some weeks might actually have 2 books squeezed into an update. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be an exciting time. I'll probably go more in depth on my strategies and whatnot in the first update, because the first update comes out when the challenge begins, so there's not going to be really anything to update you on, because I will have not started it, technically, by the time I record that. You'll also notice that the Kane Chronicles are not part of the challenge. And that is where the kind of differential between 23 and 26 books comes in. Because I personally feel that this challenge is kind of hard enough without adding 3 more books. But I do understand where some people would prefer if I, included the Kane Chronicles and have provided a potential path to me adding it and making this challenge just that much harder. And that is just basically, I just need my YouTube channel to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I just kind of want to see a noticeable increase in the podcast in general. But I will, if, I hit these goals, I will add them to the list, and they will, make things just a little bit harder, because that would put it at absolutely having to read one book a week. My inspirations for this challenge primarily comes from Brian David Gilbert's Halo Unraveled video for Polygon, where he read 29 books over the course of 10.5 to 11 months, give or take. Because, of course, there was time to record the video and whatnot. And, I took inspiration from that. One of the things that he does in that video is when he completed a book, he would record his, thoughts on the book, like, immediately. And then he took clips from those recordings and put them in a final video, where I kind of want to take my thoughts and kind of immediately put them out there using shorts. That's kind of one of the adaptations. And also, technically, this is over a shorter time period overall. Because if you look at his timeline in that video, he has, like, bursts of reading books and whatnot. And then he would take, like, maybe a few weeks worth of a break. I sadly probably won't get that luxury of a break. Because I am kind of anticipating this to be pretty difficult. But if this challenge is successful in, kind of hitting the goals that I would like it to, and also just generally completing the challenge, then I do have some ideas for more challenges. Though I think the next one, I'll probably try to do it over a shorter, like a bit of a smaller challenge. This is like a big one to kind of get things started, but I'm thinking of doing like a smaller second challenge, like probably next year at some point. But yeah, I took a long time to actually plan out how this challenge was going to go, because there was a lot of details that I was worried about. Do I do a whole episode per book? But sometimes there might not be an episode, during the week. So then what do I do there? So I think overall this is kind of the best way for it to work out. I do shorts updates, in real time, and then I do podcast updates every week. I'm very excited for this challenge. Again, it's something that I've been planning pretty much since the beginning of the podcast. So please feel free to join me on this journey. If you have all of the Percy Jackson books, feel free to see if you can beat me. I mean, there's almost certainly people that can, because I am actually a relatively slow reader. The fastest I've been able to read a book is, if I'm doing absolutely nothing, a day to a day and a half. That's the fastest I've been able to read a book. But sometimes, I tend to go off on self-tangents. But anywho, again, beginning on Monday, there will be an update in the Lost in Sci-Fi and Fantasy episode on Monday. Though, again, there won't really be much content to it, except for just kind of telling you my strategies and whatnot. That's it, actually. That's, yeah. So yeah, please feel free to follow me on this weird and random journey I've decided to put myself on. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Goodbye.